Once again, it's on. Y'all know what time it is. It's time to play some toss. Welcome, everyone, to episode 80. That's right, episode 80, 80 of the Tristain Sports Show Toss. It is your main man, your friendly neighborhood T-Square Tristain Thomas. Thank you all so very much for joining us this week. It's an all state of the state episode. We got a lot to talk about, and it pertains to the Green Bay Packers. If you guys know most of this story, or do you? We will get into it. The Milwaukee Bucks, an exciting last couple of games, big time playoff implications. We'll talk about that. And the Brewers, we got to discuss them. Some ups, some downs. We'll get into it. But you all know how we get things started here on Toss. And it is what it will be for the entire program. It is the state of the state, where we speak about the state of sports in the state of Wisconsin. And let's get it jumped off. The Green Bay Packers. Last week was the NFL draft, and we can't even really break that down. I think we'll talk about the NFL draft next week. The Packers actually had a very good draft if you were really paying attention to team needs. But as opposed to being focused on team needs, which is what draft time is all about, we're focused on one guy, one player. And let's be very, very clear, he is the player for the Green Bay Packers, quarterback Aaron Rodgers. A story broke out on draft day that he, meaning Aaron Rodgers, has said that he does not want to play for the Green Bay Packers anymore. He did not plan on returning to the Green Bay Packers. So instead of focusing on the task at hand, and instead of being excited for the draft and seeing what new talent was going to come in to Green Bay and possibly be a impact player of need, we have to focus on this, on a superstar being disgruntled. But that's really not the thing that has me irritated. It has a lot of people who think more so with their heart and not with their head. Really, really irritated. This has me highly irritated because of the cap that's coming out all over the place. So what I'm going to do for all of you, because I love each and every single one of you, and I thank you for rocking with us each and every single week. You guys come to Toss. You guys come to your friendly neighborhood T-Squared to get the scissors and hat to cut the cap. You come to me because you want no bull. And that is what I work hard to give you all. So I'm going to tell you what I know based on the conversations I've had with people who know about this situation. Because there's a lot of cap out there. There's a lot of people coming up with so-called sources that are not even close to a realm of reality on what's going on with this situation with Aaron Rodgers in the front office. Now, if you've been paying attention, you will know that last year's draft, the Packers traded up and GM Brian Gutekunst traded up to get back into the first round to select a quarterback named Jordan Love. This is Goots' hand-picked heir to Aaron Rodgers whenever Rodgers decides to hang it up. Or at least that's where it is currently. Rodgers is at that age where you have to start thinking about the future, right? You have to start thinking, okay, is he going to start getting to that mold of how much longer am I going to play? Is he going to get into that mode of, man, he's good, but now he's getting injured a lot? And an athlete's best ability is availability. We have to think about the future of this franchise and not just the present. And this is what the Packers do, I think, better than anybody in the National Football League. They draft, they develop, but they also do a good job in getting talent in places of need. Now, there are some positions, namely inside linebacker, that have gone, and some people may argue wide receiver. I will disagree. Packers have some talent at the wide receiver spot. They're still young. They're still developing, but I digress. We could talk about that type of stuff next week. There are some positions in need that go ignored. People are going to point to the wide receiver position and saying, see, that's why you need a first-round wide receiver. Well, Devontae Adams is widely considered the best wide receiver in football. And he was not a first-rounder, folks. Not a first-rounder. You had guys who contributed to this team in Allen Lazard, Marquez Valdes-Scantling, Robert Tonyan. All guys who go out there and catch the football. None of them drafted in the first round. But all of them impact players on this team. Some impact bigger than others. But the impact that they've had, you cannot deny. Some people will point at that very position in wide receiver as the reason why Aaron Rodgers is miffed. Why there's a big rift between he and the front office of the Green Bay Packers. Back to Jordan Love. Because that is not the reason why he's miffed. Let's get back to Jordan Love. That was an irritant. Selecting a guy at quarterback, not having any lines of communication open, saying, hey, we're going to draft a quarterback. Okay, make no mistake about it. We are committed to you, but we also have to keep an eye on the future of this ball club because we don't know how much longer you want to play. We are committed to you as long as you want to play, but we don't know if that day is going to come this year, next year, a couple of years from now, where you said, hey, guys, it's time. I'm hanging it up. Now, do I think they should have traded up into the first round to grab a quarterback? No. But I'm not the guy that's making those decisions. Do I believe that as your superstar and the only reason this team is a championship contention, and you know what, and let me walk that back. I won't say the only reason, but he is the biggest reason why. You guys are in championship contention. Why you guys have made back-to-back NFC championship games. There is talent all around. At running back, there's talent. As wide receiver, there's talent. Offensive line, there's talent. This defense statistically was the 9th-ranked defense in the NFL, and they just added more pieces in the draft. They re-signed some of their own free agents from there. This is a good team all the way around, but he is without a doubt, and we're talking Aaron Rodgers, the reason why this is a championship caliber team. You take him off of there, and this team, do I think they can still win games and get to the playoffs? I actually do. They would have to run the football, which Matt LaFleur is more than comfortable with doing, which this offensive line is able to do, which those running backs are able to do. And if you get more of that rough, tough, physical type defense from the Packers, which I think Joe Barry is going to bring to the table, it's no longer Mike Pettin at the DC spot. They could make a run for the playoffs. But again, I digress. You know, you talk about a 9-8 team. Possibly 10-7. I know people are up there raising an eyebrow. Well, what are you talking about? It's 17 games now, folks. 17 regular season games. Don't forget that. As a superstar, and I know some people are going to be disgusted by this statement, but it is just the absolute truth. It doesn't matter what sport. Superstars get a different kind of treatment. Why? Because they are the ones who put butts in seats. They're the reason why people are buying merchandise. They're the reason why people are tuning in. They're the reason why you're getting sponsorships and advertisers. They bring in the money. So when you have someone like that, that is making your team competitive, putting your team in a championship light, putting your team in a primetime light, you have to finesse that relationship a different way than you would someone else. That is just what it is when you have a superstar. When you have a Aaron Rodgers, when you have a Tom Brady, when you have a Michael Jordan, when you have a LeBron James. When you have guys of that stature, an Asia Wilson, a Sue Bird, a Diana Taurasi, a Breanna Stewart, when you have players of that caliber, superstars of that caliber, you have to finesse that relationship very, very differently than you would another athlete. So those lines of communication should have been open. Should have been open. Now, do I believe that Rodgers should have personnel decisions? No. Do I believe that he should have a voice in personnel decisions? That he's able to state his opinion on the things that he's seeing out there on the field and what will work and what wouldn't work? Sure, I believe that those lines of communication should be open to have that conversation, but ultimately those decisions fall on the general manager. Hey, thanks for your input. I'm going to take that under advisement when we're doing our assessment, and we're going to make the best possible decision for this team and for you, and something that complements you. My point is the lines of communication should have been open, and that is what really started this whole thing. Now, from the conversations that I've had, that wasn't the thing that caused the rift. This team releasing Jake Kumerow was not the thing that caused a rift. And if you believe that for 1/10 of a second, you should never, ever watch football ever again. Cut the cap. You got Mark Schlereth out in Denver. Oh, I had a conversation from somebody who never steers me wrong, and they said that this deal was as close to done as it could possibly be. Or trade between the Broncos and the Packers. People I talked to said there was no such deal. People I talked to said that it was quick conversations with a few teams. There was no trade framework. There were no players spoken about, nothing. Everybody was inquiring about him, meaning Aaron Rodgers, and it was a quick conversation. We're not trading Aaron Rodgers. John Lynch, San Francisco's GM, he called and inquired. It was a quick conversation. That's what I got from the people that I've spoken to. And I made sure to corroborate these stories. I try to dig in as much as I possibly could, which is why tosses take a little bit longer to cook up for all of you. Because I want to give you the most accurate information. I don't want to give you the most information. I don't want to be the first with information. I want to give you the most accurate information. And that's something that with this particular story is getting lost. There's so much cap out there. I can't believe the names of people putting their reputation on the line to cap and get clicks. Then you have the story about a team group chat text, and some people have corroborated it. I have not been able to get corroboration on that. I have not been able to get confirmation on it, on if those texts are true or not. I know teams, and teammates do have group text, group chats. talk about a bevy of different things. It's normal. It's just like, I have a group text with my family, just like you may have a group text with your family or with your friends. Everybody does it. Athletes are no different. Teammates are no different. And yeah, if you got a problem with somebody in the front office or you got a beef with, and not even necessarily beef, but yeah, you poke fun at some of your teammates and you call them this, or if you got an issue with somebody at work, and it's no different than you going into the break room bitching about your manager because they're not the best person. But that was blown up. That was made a big deal. I would just caution everybody to understand that not all information is good information. And the rush to be first is really, really rampant with a story of this magnitude. Is there a rift between Rodgers and the front office? Absolutely. Have there been a breakdown of communication between the two sides? Absolutely. Is there fault to be found on both sides? Absolutely. Jay-Z said on the 444 album, the very song called Family Feud, and he said, quote, "Nobody wins when the family feuds." This is a situation that both sides need to grow the hell up, talk it out. Don't make individual visits out to his house. You go to 1265, you get a conference room, you sit down, you hash out all your beef over a few hours, order some takeout. I don't give a damn. But you don't come up out of that room until both sides have said their piece. You bury this hatchet and you try to go and get a Lombardi trophy. That's what needs to happen here. Because for all these little side stories coming out, it seems like it's just a lot of built up resentment over a breakdown of communication. And it's something that can be resolved if everybody would sit down and have a conversation, a real conversation, an honest conversation, drop the facades, really talk about things and hash it out. So we don't have to listen to these stories of ineptitude about Rodgers wanting Goot fired from the GM position. Otherwise, he's not coming back. Or all these other things that supposedly Rodgers has leaked out, which I don't believe Rodgers is the guy that's going to leak all this stuff out. I truly don't believe that. Nobody wins when the family feuds. This is going to end badly if you continue to let it fester. If you don't drop the facades, if you don't sit down and have a real conversation, an honest conversation, and hash it the hell out, then go out there and win. Do not sabotage yourself. This is exactly what's happening. You're sabotaging yourselves. People, I caution you, don't take everything you see about this story as Bible, as truth. Don't do it. You got a lot of people out there trying to make a name off of this story, trying to get clicks, trying to increase their CPM. There's money to be made off this story, and controversy creates cash. So you got some people out there that are going to do anything, say anything to garner that attention, because them garnering that attention, them garnering your attention is going to get them paid, even though what they're talking about isn't the truth. I'm going to tell you like this. Nobody outside of 1265 knows a damn thing. Continuing here on this State of the State episode of Toss, Let's talk Milwaukee Bucks. Currently embroiled in a battle with the Washington Wizards, who are really hot. At this point, Russell Westbrook does have another triple-double. Bradley Beal, who had been under 30 points for the last 4 games. At last check, he was at 31 points. They were locked up in the third quarter. Bucks had a slim lead. But let's talk about the previous 2 games. Let's talk about that Sunday, Tuesday, back-to-back home games, series against the Brooklyn Nets, the powerful Brooklyn Nets. And the Bucks swept that home and home series. Great games on Sunday and Tuesday. Giannis showed out on Sunday, 49 points. Did it again on Tuesday with 36. He and KD going at it. And Giannis said it after Sunday's game. No, I was not trying to go out there and match baskets with KD. You're going to lose if you try to play that game. I was just out there doing what I had to do to help win the team. It helped the team win. And absolutely he did. Let's talk about Sunday's game, because although Tuesday's win did seal the season series for the Bucks, which means if they can get this number 1 seed, or if they end up tied in record, tiebreaker goes to the Bucks. And the Bucks also hold the season series tiebreaker over the 76ers. So there's a lot to play for, because if you can get that number 1 seed, it's likely you're only going to have to go through one of those 2 heavyweights in the Eastern Conference, meaning either you're going to go through Philly in the Eastern Conference Finals, or you're going to go through Brooklyn in the Eastern Conference Finals. If you are lower than that, you're going to have to go through both of those teams, more than likely, and that's barring an upset from a lower seed. So you want to make this an advantageous path for yourself to get to the finals, to finally get over that Eastern Conference Finals hump and get to the finals. You don't have to play those 2 heavyweights, especially if James Harden comes back healthy. And I know last night they talked to Steve Nash, head coach for Brooklyn, and he said that James Harden is pretty much back at square one with that hamstring, which is not good. Really not good, because you're talking about a soft tissue injury. You know, he's a guy that's over 30. You start getting those linger. And for his type of game where he relies on change of direction and drawing fouls, and I mean, it's really easy for him to re-aggravate that. So they're going to take their time and try to get him back. And you hope that he comes back around playoff time if you are a Brooklyn Nets fan, or if you're on the team. But if he's back at square one, that's not good. But yet, even with Harden out, this is still a really good team. Really good team. I think they played a little bit better defensively than what I thought they would at the beginning of the season. Kevin Durant can get a bucket anytime he wants. Kyrie, when he's rolling, there's no stopping him. But the Bucks did a fantastic job on him on Sunday. Pretty much the KD show. They let him get everything he wanted. And it's not like they didn't try. PJ Tucker was out there playing some tough defense, but it's Kevin Durant. That man's a walking bucket. He makes the impossible look easy. But that game was really, for me, on Sunday, is what stuck out between the 2 games. And you're pleased with them getting both of those ball games. It pleased me because of the fact of the adjustments made. And don't get me wrong, there was good and bad from the Bucks in this game, both ways. The adjustments made by Mike Budenholzer, defensively. Now, coming in tonight, believe it or not, Bucks ranked 7th in defensive rating. I mean, they were lower than that at one point in time, and it seems like they picked that defense up. Used to them being top 5, top 3 over the last couple of seasons. That's not where they are, but still be top 10 in defensive rating. That's really good. They didn't switch as much after that first quarter. They really played straight up, man to man. Now, there was some switching. I don't want you to go back and look at the tape and say, oh, well, I thought you said they stopped switching. I didn't say they stopped switching. I said they really didn't switch up much. They really played more straight up. And it was good to see. Because there are just some guys that just, able to stay in the hip pockets of certain players. They're just able to play them really, really well. And when you switch off, that just gives them a different matchup that may have an advantage for them. And it worked. And they did much of the same thing on Tuesday. Now, Brooklyn was switching all types of guys on Giannis, and there's not a person, and I'm going to say this, and I'm going to say this emphatically. There is not one person on the Brooklyn Nets that can check Giannis. There's not one person on the Brooklyn Nets that could check Giannis. Not KD, not Kyrie, not James Harden, not DeAndre Jordan. Nobody. Not Joe Harris. Nobody. Nobody can check him. And everybody say, oh, well, the playoffs come and they're going to put up that wall. You have to have the type of physical and big personnel to run that wall and have it be effective against Giannis. Teams like Toronto had the personnel to do that against Giannis. A team like Miami has the personnel to do that against Giannis and have success. Brooklyn doesn't have that kind of personnel, and they don't have that kind of defensive scheme to be able to do that. When they hired Steve Nash as their head coach, and Steve Nash went out and brought in Mike D'Antoni, and I said it on the Facebook page for Toss, facebook.com/TOnSportsShow, that it was all gas, no brakes. They were going to be go, 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 offense all the time. I did say they played some pretty decent defensive stretches. They were a little bit better defensively than I thought they would be, but let's be clear, this is still an offensive laden team. That is how they try to go out there and win ball games. There's not exactly a bunch of defensive stalwarts on that team. Yes, KD had his time in Golden State where he played much better defense, but you have to look at who they had. And his role was strictly rim protector. So it made him look a bit better defensively. Now he has to go out there and put in that effort. He has to go out there and get those results, and he did. So I'm not going to poo-poo what he did. But you have to look at his surroundings and the scheme that they played. He was a perfect fit for that particular role. The Nets are an all-gas, no-brakes team. They're going to go out there and they're going to try to outscore you. That's just what they're going to do. They got a guy who can get a bucket any way, anytime, anyhow. They got a guy, once he gets rolling, and unequivocally the best ball handler in the league, who, by the way, Drew Holiday picked his pocket, and that really pretty much sealed the game on Tuesday. Because it was getting close. But I was glad to see the defensive adjustments on Sunday. They really stuck out, and that really proved to be the difference in the game. Even though that last shot, Durant had a clean look at it, and he just missed it. That bit of defense was pretty wretched. He almost sent that game into overtime, but he missed it. Bucks won that game. Offensively, what I love seeing was Giannis in the mid-range. Everyone's talking about, once he gets that 18-footer or once he gets a consistent three, and I think he's shooting about 30% from three this season. You know, I mean, it's 30%. I mean, he's not going to be in anybody's three-point contest anytime soon, but at least he has confidence in taking that shot, and if guys are going to lay off of him, sometimes he's going to take that shot. Sometimes he's going to go with the hesitation and then blow right by you because you gave him so many feet of room to give him a head start. He's going to blow right by you. He's going to hesitate like he's going to take the three. He's going to blow right by you. He's going to get sent to the line, or he's going to yam on your head. But his mid-range jumper, his mid-range jumper was what was falling. Turnaround jumper, the jumper on the elbow, dribble, fall away jumper in the lane. When that shot is falling, that's trouble. Forget the outside shot, forget the three-pointer and all that. When he is in the post and he's doing that turnaround jumper, when he's coming off the elbow, and he's able to get into the lane and do that fall away jumper. When he hits you with the hesitation and the little baby hook. When that mid-range game is rolling for Giannis, you are not stopping him. And we saw that yet again. 49 points on Sunday. 36 points where the mid-range jumper wasn't really falling for him on Tuesday's game. But on Sunday's game, if he can do that a little bit more consistently, especially come playoff time, it's going to be lights out for the Eastern Conference. Who's stopping anybody? I mean, I think the only way this team ends up getting stopped is if they forget how to shoot from three, which is exactly what happened the last couple of playoffs. My problem with these last couple of games against the Nets, although they were victories, it was still very much top heavy. And that's worrisome for me. Bench scored 20 points. 20 on Sunday. The starter scored 90 plus. That's not going to get it done consistently. You won that game, yes, but if Chris was off, if Giannis was off, that's a recipe for disaster. This team is still proved to be way top heavy. You need to get more out of that bench. I said it last week on episode 79. Those guys are going to have to earn their keep come playoff time. They got to find a way to get more out of that bench. Can't continue to be just top heavy. This bench has to be able to come in and not just only sustain the lead, but also grow the lead. That is what you want your bench to do. And yes, you won a lot of games, but again, as I've stated before, you can win a lot of games in the regular season, but when you're in postseason, you're facing the best of the best and the game slows down, that's going to be exposed. Bucks have got to be better from there. They have got to be better with the bench. They need to get more. And I'm not saying the bench needs to go out there and score 50 and 60 points, but you got to get more than 20. You got to get more than these single-digit performances that we've seen before out of them. That's got to pick up, man. It's almost playoff time, so they better start getting revved up. That rotation is not going to be very long, so those guys that are coming off the bench now are going to be the ones that you ride with in the playoffs, and they better start getting something out of them more consistently and a lot more. But 2-0 against the Nets, you win the season series, you hold that tiebreaker against them. You're still currently third in the Eastern Conference. Again, they're locked up with the Washington Wizards as we speak. They had a 2-point lead. Playoff time is almost here. We'll continue to watch them. Finishing up here on State of the State, here on Toss, let's talk those Milwaukee Brewers. And I had a long sigh in the rundown at the beginning of the show about the Brewers. Man, they swept the San Diego Padres a couple weeks ago. Oh, man, you're riding high. Then you have a huge series against the defending World Series champion Dodgers. And you win 3 out of 4 from them. And you're doing all of this with a lot of your heavy hitters injured. You're talking about Yelich and Kane. Talk about you got pitchers injured. And now you're on a bit of a slide. As we speak, they're locked up with the Philadelphia Phillies. They have lost the other 2 games against them. They were down by 1 run in the bottom of the 8th at last check. You got Kane back on Monday. You got Yelich back on Monday. Kane comes back and hits a mammoth home run. Yeah, he's back. What did Matt LaPlante say? A lean back jack. So he's back. You had Yelich, but now Yelich is back on the IL because that back injury flared up yet again. This is worrisome. Craig Counsell coming out saying that Yelich can't keep doing this every day. We got to figure this out. So it sounds like he's going to be out long term. A back injury for a former NL MVP, that's not what you want to hear, especially with a guy that you sunk well over $200 million into. You're hoping he can get healthy and contribute to this squad. But they're in a bit of a funk right now, and it's probably bound to get worse. Corbin Burns going on the 10-day IL because they didn't designate an injury, so that means he has COVID. And I'm not going to shame anybody out there for whether they get vaccinated or whether they don't get vaccinated. I was vaccinated. I am fully vaccinated as of this Friday. It will have been 2 weeks since I received my second dose of Pfizer. It's a decision I made for myself, for my family, for my community. I know the Brewers were vaccinated or had that option to be vaccinated. I believe they all had the one-dose Johnson & Johnson. And if he caught COVID, that could only mean one thing. He did not get vaccinated. And again, it's not to shame him. It's more so to say, well, how many others didn't get vaccinated on the team? And is that going to be a widespread problem throughout the locker room? You know, it's something to really think about. This is still a very serious, very prevalent disease. And it's mutating, and it's getting worse. Injuries are piling up. And the Brewers have been performing the best they possibly can, and they have been winning to an extent. But now they're in a slide. They've lost 3 straight. On the verge of losing 4 straight if they do drop tonight's ball game against the Phillies. Is that just them being in a funk? It's 162 games. You're not always going to be hot. Or is that because all these injuries are piling up? Still got to field the team. Still got to go out there and play. But it doesn't help when the guys that you rely on to hit are either injured or not hitting. One of the most notable hitters on this team, Keston Hiura, has been sent down to the minors, the alternate site, to get his swing back and to kind of clear his head. That kid's too good of a hitter to be where he is at this point in the season. You hope he finds it, gets it back. Kid's too good. Too good to be hitting the way that he is. But is this the start of a long season? A long losing season for the Brewers? Or is this as difficult as it's going to be with the injuries and the shuffling of players between the alternate site and the big club? Are you going through your rough patch and you're going to have greener pastures ahead? You certainly hope that's the case. You certainly hope guys start hitting. You hope guys get healthy, stay healthy. You hope Keston Hiura figures it out, comes back up, and starts tearing the cover off the ball. It's a long season. To this point, the Brewers only played 30 games. They're in the middle of playing their 31st. There's 162 games this season. It's not the 60-game sprint that it was last season. You got to have faith. You got to hope some things go right. You got to hope some guys get healthy. It's too early to be quitting on this team, folks. I see people already throwing in their hat. Already throwing in the ball and glove. As if this season is over. It's not over. Team is in second place. They're 17-13 currently. Yes, they have some injury issues, some hitting issues, but the pitching's still good. They just have to put together some timely hitting. You get some of these injured guys back, and you hope they stay healthy from there on out. And this team is built for a run. We got to stay the course for now, folks. Well, y'all, that'll do it for me. It's episode 80 of the Tristain Sports Show Toss. Y'all know where to find me. Social media. At the20double on Instagram and Twitter. That's at the number 2, the number 0, and the word double. Facebook.com/TOnSportsShow is your home for the Toss brand of sports on Facebook. We touch on a lot of things there that we don't necessarily get a chance to on the show. That's Facebook.com/TOnSportsShow. That's TON Sports Show. And y'all know the home for the Toss brand of sports. TossNationMedia.com. Truthful, opinionated, passionate sports. It's what you deserve. But as I said before, it's time for me to get on up out of here. This is T-Squared, Tristan Thomas, reminding all of you to keep it moving forward. Always forward. The word always. Until next week, so long from Toss.